Mr. Amel Mathai, Head Technical Delivery Training and Certification, Red Hat India and South Asia. Mr. Manoj Krishanan, Senior Director, VMware by Broadcom. And finally, Mr. Iyengar, Chief Evangelist, Cloud Foundry, and also the moderator for the panel discussion today.
So it's a very universally known fact that the best thing to do after lunch is to not attend a technical session about YAML and CRDs and all of these other beautiful talks that are going on. Instead, it's great to open a panel discussion and just sit around, listen to stories. You're allowed to sleep a little bit, right? And make the rest of the day, make a start for the rest of the day, really. So, welcome everybody. We have a wonderful panel of speakers here. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then I'll introduce the topic that we are going to speak about right after. Why don't we start off with you, Rahul? So when you do introduce yourself, we're happy to learn who you are, what organization you're from, and also which part of Bangalore you come from. So everybody somehow seems to be, I'm from Bangalore. So where are you from Bangalore?
Hello everyone, I'm Rahul Jhadav, CTO for Equinox, and I come from Marthalli, Bangalore. By the way, just a quick background about Equinox. We are into cloud security product solution development. So we have a CNAPP solution and we basically specialize in Kubernetes security as well. That's what our forte is. I'll pass it on to Mathai.
Check. Yeah. Hello everyone, good afternoon, and as Ram has mentioned, it's not very easy to have a lunch and then sit and listen to somebody. We'll try to make it as interactive as possible. My name is Mathai, Amel Mathai. I work with Red Hat, an open source yet enterprise solutions company. What was it, where am I from? Okay, so I belong to God's own country. Very proud to be born and brought up in Kerala. For the ones who speak Malayalam, the Taravada of open source activities in India. Taravada, by the way, is ancestral home. So proud to be part of the open source activities since quite some time. Been with Red Hat since past 17, 18 years now. What is that I do with Red Hat is I am part of an organization which is termed as customer success, and I take care of a portfolio which is part of customer success, which is skilling my customers in technologies like Kubernetes. So I head the technical delivery of Red Hat training and certifications business in India and South Asia. That's it from me.
Manoj.
Hello. Yeah, I'm going to talk about CRDs. You didn't say me that, about not to talk about CRDs.
Go for it.
Okay. All right, my name is Manoj Krishanan. I'm a R&D director in VMware. Recently, we've been acquired by Broadcom. So what we do daily is that, integrate or develop Kubernetes on top of vSphere platform. Most of you guys, if you are into infrastructure side, you might know about vSphere platform. So that's what we have overall 20 plus years of experience. All these days we've been, earlier days into health driver development for HP, then into storage, the networking, then the last one we are doing here in my career is Kubernetes development.
Cool. So one thing I wanted to point out at the outset is we have a very diverse and eclectic mix of personalities here. While they all share a lot of underpinnings in being very experienced in the tech world, they know their way around a lot of technology, and they've forayed into Kubernetes more recently, obviously. Manoj and Mathai and Rahul all bring rather diverse perspectives into the mix. And so one of the things that we thought we'll discuss and decide on today is Kubernetes necessary for you? I know that's a little bit of a controversial topic to have at a KCD event. It should probably be known as the question mark CD event, and then we name it after. But it's kind of like 7th standard, you have to answer or write this essay about is science good or bad. So we thought we'll take this approach about asking the larger question about is Kubernetes necessary, but trying to approach that question through different experiences that these panelists have had, both professionally and personally, in working with the technology that they're so passionate about. And so I'm going to open with you, Mathai. And can you share a little bit of insight about what your experience has been with interacting with people out there who are exploring, experimenting, and experiencing Kubernetes for the first time, and what their big questions are?
Right. Yeah, it can be as controversial as it can get, as what Ram has mentioned. My plain and simple answer to is it necessary, is K Kubernetes necessary? Well, I stand here to say a definite yes to that answer, to that question as an answer. Now, it comes along with it. So, rewind maybe 10, 12 years. We come from a world of virtualization. We come from a world of monolithic applications, and when Brad and Omega were all there, we didn't have the exposure to use that high-scale computing in our laptops or in our computing environment or in our application development environment. So, my take is that it has solved a lot of problems in our life. Fast forward 10 years and then 2023, 2024. If you look at any of the applications which are being used by us, by our customers, by anybody, we have seen some good examples in the keynote sessions in the morning as well. So, I think it's been a blessing for us to have. It's not just, it's beyond orchestration, right? I mean, when you people come here as a community, when we people come here as a community and then discuss about what has Kubernetes done to us, to our computing life, to our application development career. There are so many good things which has happened. So, of course, it's not just about orchestration, as I've mentioned. So, it comes along with the complexities. It comes along with an ecosystem of. We have seen a very crowded CNCF slide in the morning. So it comes with challenges as well, especially when we talk about technology as good as this will also have a skill gap, which our customers. I can speak for my customers because I come from a customer success background. While it is good, while it is leading edge, it also needs a lot of support from community like us in making awareness about this, in making more resources ready and available for microservices is just easier said than done. But how do we manage things at scale? How do we integrate a lot of things around Kubernetes? So that's my view on it, Ram. That it's a blessing for us. We may have a long way to go. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Cool, thanks. Manoj, I'm going to switch over to you. And you.
If you ask me why Kubernetes is necessary,
not yet.
No, if my CEO get to know, I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah, I think we all will. Okay. So, the question I wanted to point at you though is what it is that you're seeing people want to be built, above Kubernetes or alongside Kubernetes or into platforms that go into helping manage Kubernetes. So, what it is that goes there as far as engineering is concerned?
Yeah, so if you look at, see, we talked a lot of customers and understand their pain point, right? Most of these customers are still in an adoption phase to Kubernetes and containers. They're still in VMs.
Mm.
So when we go to them and they say, look, containers are all good, but we can't get rid of these VMs.
Mm.
So as a platform developer, my prime priority is that how I can put VM and containers mixed together and give a stack for consumers to deploy their application. For example, their database can go to VM, their Nginx or Apache can go get into containers. So can I have a single YAML which can deploy both VM and containers together? So we call it VM service inside. So VM service is kind of infrastructure development hub for platform developers, to specifically application developers to choose the flavor they want. Like if container only, yes, go fine. You want VM, go fine. You want hybrid, go both of them, and move on to that.
Interesting.
So that is one of the problems. Similarly, we face like how do I give instant storage to a stateful Kubernetes container? Because if containers change and another one is rolled out, what will happen to the state of the instant storage? So we have underneath a lot of CSI, para, PV, CSI drivers, all these things we need to develop for us to cater to this kind of. And again, networking is another big deal. For example, IP overlap. Okay, I agree we have Calico, Andrea, and all those stuff, but still that solves only a little bit of problem. But you still have the bigger problems with your network. Right. So we have tremendous opportunity as a platform developer to bringing storage, CPU, memory, network, all facilities what we had with our platform to give this to a Kubernetes.
Nice. I'm just going, so because you mentioned there are people entrenched in the VM world and things like that, what were things like before Kubernetes arrived, and how did we actually work in an era that did not have Kubernetes?
So earlier days, we are a kind of application used to orchestrate in their VM-based applications. Right? But still, deployment of VM takes time. Now, if you look at new stack with Kubernetes, within few seconds, your entire application stack you can bring it. Okay. And if you see a failover, within seconds you can bring another pod somewhere else.
Sure.
Right? And you are not locked to a vendor. Right? So earlier, what we used to do, we used to have a data center here. Then you used to have a site recovery manager kind of stuff where you need to take all this VM, replicate it in Singapore or some other place. Then you have a failover mechanism. Now with Kubernetes, you don't need that. Take it Amazon, AWS, or any other provider. You can have your parallel copies.
Rahul, I'm going to switch over to you, and could you share some insights? I know you come from like the security world, but what I also love about your presence is you're participating in sort of the CNCF landscape, getting your project there, getting it visible. What's that whole ecosystem like? Manoj mentioned like a ton of projects and things like that. I'd love to get your perspective on what the ecosystem is like and what your participation there is like.
Sure. I mean, I can touch upon our own journey as to where we started out from, and why did we open source the central policy engine that we're developing and put it out there as part of CNCF governance, which essentially took away the complete control away from us, and made sure that anyone out there can retain the license, Apache 2 license forever. I mean, that was a big decision as an organization that we had to take. But before going there, right, I would just like to touch upon the Kubernetes topic here. There are two types of folks that I have seen in general. One section is people who say that Kubernetes can cure cancer. That's one section. And the other sections are completely skeptical, saying that Kubernetes is no good than my local bash script. So these are the two sections that I've seen, and we all know that the solution or the answer lies somewhere in between. Otherwise, we wouldn't have seen solutions such as ECS, Fargate, Google Autopilot kind of getting such kind of momentum. We all know that it is somewhat complex to deal with Kubernetes at some level. 3 years back, as an organization, as a co-founder of a newly budding startup, I had to take a decision as to whether we should go with the Kubernetes approach, or shall we develop a regular monolithic application on virtual machines. And the most important thing that stood apart for me and my team was that Kubernetes provides scalability, reliability, service discovery, and the ease of deployment out of the box. In my previous ventures, I've spent enormous amount of time in trying to solve some of these issues. So I know how difficult it is, trying to get it out of the box and being able to scale your application automatically is a big advantage. But that's not about it, With Kubernetes, we decided that, our own engine that we were developing, and we were developing a runtime security engine, basically which secures your workloads from zero-day attacks. And we had to decide whether we go the Kubernetes native model. We saw that if we design that policy engine around Kubernetes, the value proposition comes out much faster. In a lot of sense, Kubernetes was relatively new for me as a founder at that stage. But we talked to CNCF team, we talked to Kubernetes experts, and one thing that stood apart for us was the Kubernetes resource model. And everyone knows here, whoever has dealt with the Kubernetes environment, that the Kubernetes resource model is the model which stands upon. So we decided to open source the policy engine. And one thing, the reason why we open sourced it as part of CNCF is like we had taken a radically different approach. And at some point we thought that we don't necessarily want to be the first to solve that problem. It's not necessarily a good place to be in. Maybe we should have an open discussion around this problem statement and solution. CNCF seems to be an appropriate platform. And we got tremendous response. Like the first time we approached the CNCF TOC, Technical Organizing Committee, they gave us a visibility into what kind of attempts had been made previously in the same domain.
Okay.
Who had forayed into it, and what kind of approaches that they had taken, and you should stay away from these things and you should go. So this kind of expertise you won't get, this kind of collaborative nature of innovating things, you don't get usually in other contexts. That's what we love about CNCF. And I think 3 years down the line today, I think there are two important decisions that as an organization we got right, is what I firmly believe at this stage. One was to go with Kubernetes and the other was to go with CNCF.
Okay.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to dive in a little deeply based on what you said. Manoj and Mathai come from organizations that are slightly larger, but you seem to have some background in being part of smaller organizations and smaller engineering teams. And so all of these amazing things that you speak about Kubernetes, does that stand true for these smaller orgs as well?
Yeah, that was one of the concerns that we had. We don't have a 100-team DevOps member, right? Like DevOps team. Will we be able to deal with the complexity? But turned out, our DevOps team is essentially 4 people team member today, and they handle bulk of the work. Like we have clusters across multiple regions. The automation is possible primarily because of the orchestration layer, in this case Kubernetes. And that changed everything. Like we are nimble, we are fast, we have the ability to deploy SaaS, we have the ability to provide on-prem solution, air-gapped solution, primarily because of this model, the orchestration model. We have ensured that, we have made a decision, a deliberate choice, that whatever engines or applications that we integrate with, they should be 100% available on Kubernetes. We don't want to go for certain set of applications which are available on virtual machines, and then certain set of applications which are available on Kubernetes. That increases the complexity manifold.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be better for you to just take one approach and go for it. But that's a decision that we took, and like I said, it allowed us to scale much faster, deploy things, and achieve that velocity that typically a startup aspires for.
Mathai, can you share a little insight about what is the profile of the teams that you're speaking to? Are they typically large, or could they be small as well? Are they somewhere mid-size? And is there a different kind of problem, or is there a different perspective behind why they're looking at Kubernetes adoption? Is it just marketing, or is there a deep need for orchestrating these container platforms? And anything you can share insight about those things?
Interesting. When Rahul was talking about how small his team is, and then they have been skeptical, a DevOps team of 4 people, and then, they have been a little reluctant or skeptical or doubtful about how do we go about it. I think that reluctance and that inability to take that step and leap forward and go into that state. I think that exists with big enterprises as well. Maybe it was easy for Rahul to take a decision, go for it, because it was easy to convey that message very, very clearly to his team, because he is a rather smaller team, and as you all folks know, it's very easy to manage a smaller crowd. But when it comes to enterprises, it becomes overly complex. Taking a round of discussion itself across the board and getting a sign-off from the top-level folks itself is going to be a very long process. And then, in addition to that, the major hurdle is to convey and convince the folks on the ground who are actually doing the work. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of messaging, and sometimes even a bit of forceful acceptance of, hey, we're going to go DevOps, and then you have to really use and fall in line with one of the orchestration platforms, and this is the way we are going, we have decided, and you take it. So there's a lot of reluctance and pushing back from big enterprises as well. Now, the kind of customers which I deal with, well, they are SMBs, they are large enterprises. So the approach and the reaction actually differs. Again, when I look back, maybe 10 years before in the world of consulting, if you have put these words to a team of application developers, or even an IT services company who would be in turn offering a service to their customers, you're very familiar with these words, right? But imagine 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, if you're talking about DevOps, containers, microservices, CI/CD, automation, put all these words together, we couldn't even have come out of the shackles of virtualized world. And then, put all these things together, it's too much to take. But then, the cultural shift has happened. That's the main thing. Now, today, if you have a lot of people appreciating the way we can actually have DevOps practically possible with the help of Kubernetes, is because we have seen it working. We have shared experiences with others that, hey, this thing works. Of course, as I said, sorry to repeat the point again, but with the complexities involved. So the approach is different, but ultimately, I think when you start tasting the success of having a platform as good as this, which can really help you scale applications, that's where you have to convince people, and then we will have to get them on board. Yeah, I think this is a good idea. Let's try it out. And now, the C-level execs will always need their applications to go to the customer before anybody else in their competition. And you have been. These are all cliche examples, right? I mean, 2 releases in a month versus 2 releases in a day. Fail fast, fail early, all these stuff. Now it's like, it used to be a buzzword. Now I think people are trying to make sense out of when we talk about it. It's not just a buzzword anymore. So yes, coming back to that specific question of small team versus big team, we have our own challenges there. But then big businesses versus SMBs, if they taste success, if they have a better release mechanism, a better feedback mechanism from the customers being included, the business making sense of, okay, these guys are investing in this, and then it makes sense to me because I can sell better, or my services are being appreciated by my customers than a couple of years ago. That really makes the difference. So I think one point or other you'll have to take a plunge.
Sure.
But once you're there, I think and it's not easy.
Yeah.
He can be the right example who can say that, I've got major headaches and sleepless nights when we started off. And that I think that applies to all of us. But yes, once you're there, I think when you start feeling it, get the hang of it, I think no stopping.
Manoj, maybe you can share a little insight about what that journey is from an engineering and an implementation perspective, right? So somebody decides to try Kubernetes in a fairly large organization, I guess, and then is that a point where they come to you, or is that a point you get involved, or what's that like?
Generally, they go to PS organization. organizations and they try to sell the product. Actually, we don't get into. We land up into mostly for an escalation.
Okay.
Say customers say, I can't see my VM, my ports or
Right.
connectors here.
Right.
Then we get to.
Oh, okay. And so what is that journey like? So they come to you with a problem with their Kubernetes clusters, and then you.
Yeah, I can just tell a couple of problems we
Yeah.
really face as an organization. Okay. So right, Kubernetes release 3 releases in a year.
Yeah.
So and having one release, we have only 1 year of support.
Okay.
So by then, organization like us catch up on one version, integrate into our product, and try to release. By then, the 6 months to 9 months is over.
Okay.
Customer is left out with only 3 months.
Okay.
Okay. So we have 3 types of customers. Not 3. We have many types of customers, but I'm just generalizing into 3.
Sure.
So one customer they are ready to upgrade infrastructure very fast. They are ready to upgrade their Kubernetes fast. We see very less customers that space.
Okay.
Second type of customers where they don't want to upgrade their infrastructure, they want to upgrade their Kubernetes. Most of the guys in our customers fall into that category. Third category is that they don't want to upgrade both. Neither Kubernetes nor this one. Most of the telco customers fall into the last one.
Okay.
Because telecos, right, the RAN and they can't change it because their focus is 5G or something else. They are not worried about, our Kubernetes and stuff. So our challenge here is that how we automatically upgrade this Kubernetes without impacting the customer. How, and the security, the CVs are big players in the upgrade, right? So Kubernetes generally say, okay, you have a CE, now go and upgrade to your next version. They don't support in the older version.
Got it.
So the patch versions are keep coming and customer do not want to catch up that upgrade. Because most of our typical VM customers, they are experienced with 2 to 3 years of time for upgrade cycle.
Sure.
They don't have that luxury anymore. Right. So that's the biggest challenge. So we coming with a solution like auto upgrade, patching, but still there is a lot of friction on upgrade.
Right. Very interesting. Rahul, I want to bring you in on the security aspect. What are your thoughts about where people's minds are at in terms of securing their Kubernetes clusters? And obviously, I know you had like a 30-minute talk about it, but in 3 minutes, could you summarize some of those things?
I think the biggest challenge with Kubernetes security is the multiple layers. People focus on one particular layer, like it could be service mesh or network policies or admission controllers, and somehow the original aim for securing gets lost. So with security, with all these different layers, it's immensely complicated to deal with, all the possibilities. Simply, let me just quote one particular security vulnerability that was just, highlighted a couple of days before by the SNCC team, which basically the runc has a vulnerability which allows you to, which allows container escape.
Okay.
Now it's the problem is at multiple fold. You have problems at the worker node level, you have a problem at the containerization level, and you have a problem at the application level. All 3 layers are involved. So how do you secure across all these 3 layers? Any single solution cannot deal with these kind of security challenges. So it becomes complex, right? There are multiple layers. It's not like it didn't existed in the context of virtual machine based workloads. It existed. There is still an application layer, there is still an orchestration that has to be done, right? Someone has to auto scale. There has to be some orchestration in place, but in that case the orchestration was for a proprietary layer. In this case, it's an open layer. It has its own advantages, but then your SecOps team, your DevOps team needs to take into consideration the security at different layers, and it becomes challenging. And you see, right, the challenges is manifested in thousands of different security vendors. We've been one of them.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a wild west.
Cool. Yeah, I'd love to keep discussing. We are running out of time, so I'm going to call for closing remarks. Manoj, let me start with you. What do you think is the best way for people to approach their entire thinking to Kubernetes? So let's take one specific example of people who are already have decided that this is the path that they want to take, and they want to adopt Kubernetes at their mid-size firm and things like that. And so what it is that you would advocate them in terms of this is how you think and go about your Kubernetes adoption?
So Kubernetes is the future, or containerization is the future. So what I would say is that there is no way out. Eventually, all application will have to go to microservices and go towards this path. So the early the better, actually. So start creating a little bit of POCs, slowly migrate. Big monolithic applications, break into chunks and see which portion you can get into containerize. Slowly start adapting to this.
Cool. Mathai, anything you want to add to that?
Okay, the same thing, right? So I would say, I would agree with Manoj, and then since I deal with large enterprises and accounts, I would like to make them aware in the first place that, hey, this is a tried and tested thing, and we have so many customer references, we have so many success stories across the globe. For example, Airtel, for example, in India, the third largest telco on a global scale. It was difficult for them, but if you look at the way they are focusing on, and they're already on board that journey. So we have some very good reference points there to get the people on board quickly. Maybe start small, maybe with a minor project, and then, as I said, once you taste the success, the rest of the adoption will happen automatically. The other thing is the skill gap. Now people are doubting something, and then they are reluctant to take a plunge because they may not really know what exactly is happening. So the awareness and the education and bridging the skill gap is very, very important, even if it is for startups. Once they have, I've seen Cube Cloud doing a good video on, what is their initiative in terms of, and then what percentage of people will say yes and accept the technology once they're skilled on it. So that's my take on it. Start small, get the awareness there, get them skilled.
Finally to you, Rahul.
I would say that when you start your journey on the Kubernetes side, right, there's 100% chance that you will get something wrong. I think the best part that I realized over a period of time is that it's incrementally possible to fix some of those things. You might not necessarily make use of Kubernetes native model across all the possible things that you can do. But then you can eventually realize that you can shift towards that Kubernetes native model and reap benefits out of it, and you can do it incrementally. And that basically allows you to become better over a period of time. And that, changes everything.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being a patient audience and listening to all of these perspectives. Hopefully you had something to take away from all of the different experience that was discussed here. I know I'm going to walk off stage without actually answering the question that I posed, but I think it goes without saying that we're all extremely invested in Kubernetes. We look forward to it being a part of our future. We look forward to it being a part of your future, not just as an orchestration technology, but as something that is a massive open source project that's global, that's distributed, that you can be a part of, that's active, that's growing, and that really needs a lot of help. If you're able to extract some engineering benefit out of it, wonderful. If not, be a part of the community. Thank you for coming in and supporting events like these. And thank you all for sharing your insights today.
Thank you.
Rahul. And thank you, audience, for being here.
That was very informative. Thank you so much.